Welcome back to our extended Brazil Uncovered series. There is one company at the crossroads of environmental preservation and profit. Natura is the most popular cosmetic maker in Brazil, with a focus on respecting the country's natural beauty. Sean Calebs has more.
For generations, researchers and scientists have looked to the rainforest and its wealth of flora for breakthroughs in science, medicine, and yes, even daily household products. The #1 cosmetic company in Brazil is called Natura. Its factory just outside Sao Paulo employs hundreds. Bottles and boxes of all sorts of shampoos and skin creams stream off the factory line. Guto Pedreira is in charge of all business in Brazil for Natura and says the company operates with one chief goal in mind.
Sustainability is our model of being business.
It is a company that prides itself on research and has a glowing reputation within Brazil for developing new products from plants and fruits without harming the environment. The company also strives to benefit people in the Amazon.
We want to increase the use of these materials that come from Amazon to generate more good economy over there. They need to live also. They need money, but we want to help them to go in a good way and make this a good economy inside the forest.
Natura is the most popular cosmetic company in Brazil, but we're standing in someplace very special. This is the only Natura store anywhere. But don't expect a big rush at the front door. This store is limited to employees only, and they can only buy 5 products per month.
Some economists might label a big part of Natura's business plan outdated and flawed. Instead of hundreds of stores all over the country, Natura has 1.2 million people who basically sell products door to door. And it works very well. Natura is a private company that brought in nearly $4 billion last year.
We believe in relationship, believe that power of the people to transform people's life. So why do I have to have a store if I have 1.2 million stores?
I think they want to be part of the solutions for a better world for future generations.
Luis Fernando Guedes is the certification manager of Imaflora, a nonprofit organization that makes sure companies that claim to operate in a green fashion really do. Natura gets high marks. He says it goes beyond just being a sustainable company.
We recognize that we have problems and that each person has a role to make a better future. That sustainable development doesn't happen in the Amazon, up in Alaska or in the Arctic, but happens in the life of everyone.
Environmentalists will argue there aren't nearly enough businesses that focus on doing what is right for the environment. But Natura is one, and in this case, lip service is something good.
Sean Calebs is now in the studio. An amazing story you've put together. And it does prove at least one thing, that you can make money but also be extremely good for the environment. But in your trip to the company, what was so appealing to you? What was the biggest surprise to you?
I think the fact that it is so universally liked in that country. I mean, you know, you come across companies here or there that will have a certain sector that really likes the company, but it seemed to cut across so many sections. And maybe it's because they're so public about what they do for the environment and how not only do they reach out to the Amazon and the people living in that region in a sustainable way, but they also try and give back so people can get more than just a job. They improve their way of living. They kind of like to think that the tide raises the whole ship.
And this isn't a small company by any means. This is not a tiny company. We're talking about $4 billion a year. It rivals every major cosmetic company in the world. And you know, in surveys that we talked about, there are people who are willing to pay more for the cosmetics for a variety of reasons. Are you surprised by that?
No, and it's not just cosmetics. It's any company. UL, United Labs, did a study that just came out, and last year it showed about 48% of the people would pay more for for something if they could prove it was done in an environmentally sensitive way, or if it did its business in a sustainable way. This year, it jumped to 69%. 2 out of 3 people are willing to pay. And so a lot of companies are taking advantage of that. That same study also showed it believes not enough companies are doing that. So maybe that can be the impetus that gets companies to think and be...
Something that's pretty cool that you did is you not only visited the company, and that's great, they make money to do good things, but you went to visit the different cities and towns in that area that not only produce the products, but also use the products as well. What was the reaction from the people who produce it and also use these cosmetic products?
Everybody knows about it. Indeed, you know, we have fixers when we go out. People who help us translate or tell us this is where you want to go. And our fixer said, oh, I bought that product after I had my first baby. I did this, I did, you know, that. And when we went to some of the smaller towns, you would see the Natura symbol on certain doors. This is where people, the consultants, they call them, the 1.2 million people that sell the products door to door, they were the people in that area. It rivals Avon here in the U.S., but it overtook Avon in terms of business about 7 years ago. So it's doing good, and it wants to expand, move beyond Latin America, Mexico, the U.S., more into Europe.
Well, let's talk about expansion, because for those watching the business show, they're thinking, well, if it's such a great product, why isn't it sold in places like Shanghai, Beijing, and Washington, D.C., and New York? What is the longer-term plan?
Well, I think that one thing, you have to not overextend yourself. I mean, I think that's one thing that the company would say. They have a business program that works for them. They have a good foundation. Now the gentleman we interviewed is the business leader in Brazil. They're looking to grow. They have operated in France. In fact, they had one store in France, didn't stay open very long because it got away from their core values of the way Natura wants to operate. So they hope to do that. The big thing, is it going to translate the way it does in Latin countries? Will that door-to-door salesmanship, will that word of mouth, will that be enough? And come on, Paris, that's a tough market to break into if you want to sell cosmetics.
It's an amazing adventure, an amazing company that you've found, Sean Calops. Thank you very much. Always good to have you here on the set.